into it's checking connection. I'm live. I'm alive. How you guys doing out there in Facebook, Instagram world? I'm all alone. No, I'm not all alone. There are 3 eyeballs, 6 eyeballs on me. Oh, 2 on the other platform. There are eyeballs everywhere. Eyeballs. How you doing, everybody? Today is a big day for me because my book, The Way of Integrity, is just coming out. And I just want to talk to you guys about this because, you know, most people have never heard of me. I like to say I'm quite well known among people who have heard of me. And you guys maybe have heard of me. And I wanted to tell you something. I have always experienced writing as a very lonely thing. Like often, you know, especially when my kids were younger, it would be all-nighters. Like every Oprah column you've ever read that I've ever written was an all-nighter. Like I was taking care of kids. I was trying to do other work. And at night I would write all night and just wonder, is anybody going to ever read it, listen to it? It was just very isolating. Well, this book here, I dropped it. I was so excited. Writing this book was a completely different experience. And the reason was you guys. I have never felt so much like I was playing with my friends in the process of writing a book. You guys, I tested all my ideas on you. I tested the exercises in the book. We did it on the gathering room. I put it on social media. And you guys responded and you shared your ideas. And like we went out and shopped the title around and you guys chose the title. Some of you sent in, like Donna sent in Undivided, which I thought would be an even better title for the book than The Way of Integrity. So, you know, it's like, we've all been kind of in the room together, and some of you have shared it on social media already and shared things about it. And I'm just overcome with gratitude and affection, and especially during the lockdown, right? You guys are my peeps. Like, this is where I go to meet my friends. And you've helped me write this book and you've helped me live this book. And I'm so grateful. I wanted to thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but damn, I've talked a lot. I do a lot of talking. And I was hoping I could get your questions to answer, because what I love more than anything else, as you may have heard, I am a life coach, which is what everyone goes to Harvard to become. No, it's actually a really great thing. And I love to coach. Like I love to respond to people and try to connect with anyone there is. The whole process of writing books has always been to me about going from a place where I was psychologically, like as a young adult in total agony, through a period of intense disturbance and then vigorous self-help to a point of okayness, and then on to something sweet and beautiful and inexpressibly lovely that now is my life. And I modeled this book on Dante's Divine Comedy because he describes that journey, and I think he was actually trying to help us take that journey ourselves, from suffering and confusion to I got to look inside and see why I'm in suffering and confusion. I've got to find my truth. I've got to abandon the ways that have been wrong for me. I've got to stop selling myself out to the people around me. I have to be true to myself. I used to read when I was like 18, 19, suicidal. I would always read in all these traditions, the truth will set you free. And I was like, okay, the truth will set me free. That sounds right. How does it work? Please tell me how to apply this. The truth will set me free. Okay. I'm 5'7". That's true, but do I feel free? I figured out for myself a little bit, and for a lot of clients, how the truth sets us free. And I put it in the simplest, clearest steps I could. And I genuinely believe that this is a method that if we follow it, we come back to our own inner teacher. Not any book, not any coach, but our own inner teacher. That's what it does. It delivers you back to yourself. And to live according to your deepest sense of truth is to escape literally all psychological suffering. Not pain necessarily. Things like grief will still happen to us. But the suffering, I once went to a pain clinic and it said over the door, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So pain is what happens to us, and suffering is what we do with what happens to us, how we respond to it, how we react to it, how we think about it, how we behave. That suffering is optional. We can get out of it forever. And I think Dante did it. I think that you can do it. I really, truly think you can do it. So with that, I would like to invite your questions. First one's from Nimit. She says, how do we stop lying to ourselves? Like, no matter how much I try to tell the truth to myself, I still feel like there are lies I have to confront that I don't recognize. What a beautiful question. Here's the thing. When we abandon our integrity, it's usually because we're not trying to be bad, we're trying to be good. Culture pressures us to behave in certain ways, and if that goes against our nature, we tend to sell ourselves out and go for the approval of culture. It causes a split then. So we're not one thing, which is the meaning of integrity, being one thing. We are two things, which is called duplicity. And that split inside us is what causes psychological pain. It can be anger, it can be grief, it can be fear, or it can be all three, as it certainly was for me. So any place you feel psychologically anything but peace, in there somewhere is an idea that you are holding in your mind that you know in a deeper way is not true. So it may be, but you can't really see it. So you have to go, you follow the trail of your suffering. You say, why do I feel so depressed after I go online and watch all the people on Instagram? Oh, because their lives are shiny and beautiful and mine is so ordinary and dull. That hurts. Then you go in and you say, and the whole method is in here, but you go in and you say, where's the lie? Because it's not a deliberate lie, but there's something in you that's telling a story that's separate from a deeper truth. So everybody else's life is so bright and shiny. Can you absolutely know that is true? You know that you dress up when you go on Instagram. You think I sleep like this? Think again. So you're looking at other people's shiny outsides and your own murky insides. And the truth is we're all murky inside and we can all be shiny on the outside. So my life is so dull and ordinary. Really? Like Emily Dickinson never left the house and her poetry is transcendent and gorgeous. Is it true that you are not a brilliant, fabulous, unique creation of the divine? Like, how could you possibly be anything but wonderful? And as you start to question your own lies and come to the truth, what happens is we call it the chime of truth or the click of truth, the aha moment, the light bulb moment. And it's when the body knows what you're thinking is finally true, the heart knows it, so emotionally, the soul knows it as a feeling of liberation, and the mind goes, okay, that math works. When all those systems are lined up, body, heart, mind, and soul, and they're telling the same story, it's like, boom, truth. In the book, I compare integrity to an airplane. An airplane in structural integrity, where all the parts are working together, can fly. If it falls out of structural integrity, it may crash, or you may not be able to steer it or even take off. And that's what happens to us when we're holding these lies in our minds or when we're acting on things that aren't true for us. Then we get rid of them and it's like, boom, we can fly. It's the psychological and physical truth of it is so intoxicating. I can't even tell you. I want you all to feel it so much. Okay, so let's see. There's so many questions coming in. Here we go. Caroline. Hi, Caroline. She says, what's your best advice for becoming unstuck? I know you've probably addressed this in your books, and I'm sure I've read the words, but live advice is always good. Ain't that the truth? Here's what I've discovered. When I get stuck, it's either because I've come up against something I believe that's really wrong for me, or I'm going in a direction that's wrong for my true self. So, for example, when I first was asked to write a poem in high school, I was so frightened that I not only couldn't write, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat for 5 days. And a doctor finally gave me a dose of Valium, at which point I finally got unstuck. The big fear was, I can't write. I'm not a writer. And you know what? I still face that fear every single time I sit down to write anything, even an email. I'm not a real writer. I can't do that. And then I remember the Valium. Return to the Valium. No, I go back to all the times. It's been okay. All you need to write is clarity. All you need to write is honesty. Just put your truth out and it will suffice. And I get unstuck from the idea that I cannot do this thing. Another thing is that it just may be the wrong thing for you. So I got my undergraduate degree in Chinese at Harvard, and then I was going to go on into graduate studies, and the obvious choice was Chinese studies, which was really hard for me, by the way. And I just couldn't go there. I could not. I filled out an application, and then I filled out one in sociology and said I'll compare Asian and American cultures. And when the Chinese department didn't let me in, but the sociology department did, it was like my whole brain unstuck. Boom! And it was because I was being steered by my deeper self to say, no, you've been studying Chinese for 4 years is what you were supposed to do, and now you're supposed to look at it in another way. And often I think the forces, the powers that be, the universe, steers us by getting us stuck in one direction. And if we turn and go a different direction with the truth in our hearts, bang, stuff starts to happen. Like wild horses are dragging us all of a sudden. Fabulous feeling. Okay, Kirsten says, I've had this question since you started talking about integrity, but I think I maybe answered it on my own, but still. What if in integrity for me is stepping away from some family so that I can be honest with me and be my true self instead of a reflection of my culture, but they think connection with family, with me, is something they honestly want and need, part of who they are. Does our honesty ever step on other people's toes? Yeah, but only always. Here's the thing. You're born with your true nature. What pushes you off it is socialization or culture. So it's the way we behave to get along with others, which is really necessary and really good, unless it causes us to split from our integrity and betray ourselves. Then we're filled with all those negative emotions and our relationships suffer, along with our jobs, our health, everything. People who just try to lie a little less for a couple of weeks, and this is just with verbal stuff, they have measurably, statistically significantly fewer illnesses, better relationships, better experiences at work. So getting back to ourselves is necessary to have good relationships. But, for example, I tell in the book the story of how I was raised Mormon. Then I realized I made a New Year's resolution the year I was 29 that I wouldn't tell a single lie for a whole year. Why? Because they told me the truth would set me free and I was desperate. So I didn't tell a single lie that year. I really didn't. And I got healthier and happier than I'd ever been. And I also lost my religion. My family of origin sort of went with that. My job, my profession, I quit academia because that was wrong for me. My marriage. Oh, I realized I was gay. Oops. I honestly had not known that before. That's how thick denial can be. So you can see I was out of integrity pretty dramatically. And when when I recaptured all that integrity in 1 year, holy smokes, it was like a nuclear bomb had hit my life, except that I felt better and I felt truer and I started to write, still in fear, but out of passion and longing, wanting to write something people would want to read instead of academic stuff. And my family was really, I didn't speak to most of them for more than 30 years. Here and there, some communication, but huge losses. And I had to go through the whole grieving process with all those things. I didn't know where my money was going to come from. I quit the job. And what happened is that I became more the person I am now. A person who rarely experiences anger, who rarely experiences fear or sadness. Sometimes, it's all accessible, but my life is so much, I feel so whole. And so when one of my family members got back in touch with me, all I felt was love. All I felt was joy. All the problems had been worked out. And that person had also come into a new truth, had left the Mormon church. And our connection was so true. So for the first time, I'm not saying that your family's going to check out for 30 years. They may check out for 30 minutes or a week or whatever. Most families aren't as extreme. And also I wrote a book about leaving the Mormon church, not what the family wanted. You won't do anything so extreme in all likelihood. But there may be what one shaman friend of mine calls transformational tension. You change, and then the culture says, wait a minute, why are you getting out of line? We want you to be like you always were before. And you'll feel like, but I'm growing into myself and I can't fit back into my baby clothes. I'm sorry, I love you, but I just can't do it. Worst case, they take that pressure to be not yourself somewhere else. Best case, which is much more common, they respond to your integrity by regaining more of their own integrity. The love between you is deeper, brighter, truer, more pure, and everybody's happier. You cannot base relationships on lies. It's like trying to build a working airplane out of broken parts. People in integrity create relationships that are in integrity, and it is so sweet. Okay. Yes. Sorry. Okay. Oh, and this was covered up on my screen, but she also said, does our honesty ever step on the toes of someone else's honesty? Yeah. Different people have different views, and that's fine. If you're really being true to yourself, you'll allow other people to have their own views. You have them, why shouldn't they have them? And part of integrity is being the same person with the President of the United States as you are with the grocery clerk. So you're just allowing them to be whatever they are. You are allowing yourself to be whatever you are. And the connection is just when everybody's allowed to be who they are, nobody steps on anybody's toes in any really devastating way. It's amazing. Okay, Adita says, my question is, what is the price of integrity? I think I just described a little of it. In my experience, it's often challenging to be in integrity, especially if it means not conforming to our family or colleagues, etc. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on how best to deal with these challenges. Well, that is why I actually started The Gathering Room, which is a free little broadcast I do at 4 o'clock Eastern every Sunday. Because you do need community. There is that part of us that needs to see our reflection in loving eyes, or at least, written in loving emails. So finding a community is a really big part of this. Oh, yes. Okay, sorry, I just got a note, but I'll read it at the end. So you need a community, and the wonderful thing about today, even with the COVID shutdown, you can find communities of people who share your version of the world, who want you to be in your integrity, who are striving to better themselves. One of the things that happened to me when I do these things called integrity cleanses, starting with that year when I was 29, but then I've done it many years since. In fact, I'm on my 5th year of my current integrity cleanse. And it's gone even further than not lying. It's like I have to feel what I really feel, know what I really know, say what I really mean, and do what I really feel is right. Always. Like always. It's such a fun challenge to me. It's like tightrope walking, and I fall off, but I don't care. I just get back on. So it can be really, really challenging when people push back against you. But there are things that you can do to center yourself again, to get back on the tightrope. Reach out to that community of people who are like yourself. Learn a personal practice like meditation, and go inward to check on your own feeling of truth and to check on what's out of alignment and put yourself back in. Do loving kindness meditations for yourself when someone else has dissed you. This is very simple. All you do is that you sit quietly and you hold yourself with your heart and you say any positive thing. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be safe from all harm. May you always feel ease in the world. May your way be brightly lit with love. Anything, you just repeat it over and over. I used to get in these sort of panic attacks, and they were horrible, and they'd go on for hours, sometimes days. And this is the one thing that would get me out, was loving kindness meditation for myself. And once you've done it for yourself, it starts to spill out to other people as well. It's really cool. So yeah, it's challenging, but we've all got lots of people we can reach out to now, even though we're all sitting at home waiting for our vaccinations. All right. So Hoggel1 says, what is a great next step to integrity? I like to sit down and look at my list of things to do every day. Okay, I've got this. How do I feel about each task? Like the first thing I had to do today, go on the Today Show. Panic, fear. Okay, the panic and fear are coming from a lack of integrity because they feel bad. Okay, so what is the thought? I can't do national TV, I'm afraid. Okay, well, really, honey, you really cannot do national TV. You cannot sit in front of a camera and smile at the peoples. Like, you can do that. You've done that before. You can do it. So I talked myself out of the fear lies, and then my body relaxed. And then I got up and went and had morning communion with my family, which further braced me. So that one thing to do was scary for me, but I handled it by finding my truth and then finding my people. And that's, look at your list of things to do. And anything that's negative, like, oh, I gotta go to the store again. Anything you can do to bring yourself more into alignment. Give yourself a special treat at the grocery store that makes it fun to go. See if somebody else can go to the grocery store for you. See if there's music that could make it more fun. Just keep adjusting your life. I call this in the book, I call this 1 degree turns. So if your life is an airplane and every half hour you turn it just 1 degree to the right, you won't even notice the change, tiny changes. But within several hours, you'll be in a completely different place. So look at your list of things to do, take the most negative one, and then tweak your mind or tweak the task until it's a little more in keeping with your integrity. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just on the path here. And then make that 1 degree turn and then do it again and do it again and do it again. It works. There's research on this. Okay. So by Handathome says, what if you're out of integrity with a situational happening like your kid tantruming? Oh, what a wonderful opportunity to practice. Yeah. Often you'll react spontaneously in the moment in ways that don't feel good. When you get a chance, go by yourself and think, what was I thinking? Say I got really intense, like my kid's having a tantrum in the store. I start sweating. I get like panicky. I'm trying to shut him up. People are looking at me. I'm frantic. It's awful. So you go home and you think, well, that sucked. That can't be my integrity. So you sit down and you track it. There's an exercise in here called walking back the cat, where you walk backwards through what just happened to see the moment where you left integrity. And for me, when my older kids were little, it would be like, everybody's looking at us. Everybody's judging me. This child should not be acting this way. I should be more in control. Just blah, 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 blah. Really? I should be more in control of what? The universe? Of another person? Not going to happen. That's not true. Okay, so let go of that one. Everybody's looking at me. Well, not everybody in the world. Like I could calm that one down a little bit. Each thought would back me off my lies and get me back into my integrity. And what's great about it is the next time your kid has a tantrum at the supermarket, you look down and your compassion is on board and your integrity is on board. And you say, oh, she's so tired. This isn't her favorite environment. Anybody would be freaking out like this. And you sit down and you say to the little one, tell me what you're feeling. I really get it. And you'll watch people calm down. I'm going to be interviewed by an FBI hostage negotiator named Chris Voss. And he wrote a book called Never Split the Difference. He tells you how to deal with people who are hysterical. Like he would talk to hysterical terrorists who had hostages they were about to kill. And he says, if you come with empathy and calm in your voice and integrity, and you're really interested in what's happening for them, almost the way you would calm an animal, the person gets quiet. It's your integrity in training another brain and heart into integrity. Because what integrity will show you if you practice it is that the one statement that I've tested thousands of times all over the world that always takes people into the place of truth is this thought: I am meant to live in peace. Everyone feels the chime of truth. I've done this with murderers. I've done it with beggars. I've done it with billionaires. So I am meant to live in peace. And when you go there, everyone else also feels that way. So if you are the place of peace, as Hafiz, the Persian poet, said, are you troubled? Then stay with me, for I am not. When you're in integrity, you're not troubled, and everything wants to come to you. People, animals. I also read in the book about how wild animals started coming up to me after I got really in integrity. I mean, magic happens. Magic happens when you get there. Dante knew it, and I found out so too, and you can too. Okay, Samantha says, do you think this book would be able to speak to teenagers? I have an 11 and 14-year-old, and I want them to receive this wisdom early on, but I wonder what the right age is to present these concepts. If I were you, I would talk to them about it. If they're really bright, I mean, when my oldest was 11, I left the manuscript out for Expecting Adam, and Kit, as we now call them, she climbed into bed with me, and she was 11, and she hugged me, and I said, are you okay? And she said, well, I read the manuscript of Expecting Adam. And I said, oh, that was a hard time in our lives. I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, I mean the book. It's so emotionally fraught. If your 11-year-old is that literate, let them read it. You know, I don't think my other kids would have been interested. But yeah, talk to them about it. Live it yourself. As coaches, when I train coaches, we say you live it and you give it automatically. So Holly says, how do we know if our bodies know the truth and are trying to tell us something? Really simple. We're not comfortable. And be careful, because you've been taught to pretend you're comfortable in clothes that aren't comfortable, positions that aren't comfortable, shoes that aren't comfortable, temperatures that aren't comfortable. You won't even know. We've been so trained to suppress the knowledge of our bodies. But if you really relax, especially if you're by yourself, what would make me feel good physically? You're going to bring yourself back into integrity. And then whatever lies have been keeping you tense again will start to pop up. And you'll question them, and as you do, they release and you relax. And it takes some doing, but it's so rewarding right from the get-go. Fabulous question. Mama Researcher says, when you say follow your truth and make many steps toward this, what's an exercise to do this? Oh, it's in the book. But one thing you could do today, really, really simple. If you have a favorite hobby, or something you like to watch online. For example, I love to watch videos of cute animals online. Just take 5 minutes, Google cute animals online. You will have such cuteness delivered right into your life that you look up otter mother teaches babies to swim. I swoon with joy. Anything that is connecting you with the natural world is connecting you with your true nature, which is your integrity. And the otters are there with you, and it's incredible. And the baby goats and the miniature donkeys. Life, what a time to be alive. Okay, I have more questions, and they said keep this like half an hour, but I'm just going to keep going if you guys are all right. Because I love your questions. Badass Beautiful Life says, how do we let go of something we love that's not good for us? Well, if it's not good for us and we think we love it, there will be a slight difference. Like when I worked with active heroin addicts on the streets at a methadone clinic, actually in Phoenix, I would tell them, you are meant to feel the way heroin makes you feel, but you get to keep your teeth. And here's the way to it. It's the opposite of the way you're going to get more heroin. You have to be honest. You have to find out who you really are. You have to start living that way. And you will begin to have moments in the stillness, in the peace, that are so explosively beautiful. I've never taken heroin, but I really think from your description, I had a white light experience once that started my whole quest for integrity. And I think that's what addicts are looking for. So things that they really feel good and we think that we love them, but if they're having a negative effect on our lives, we see it, and we see it big time. So when you notice that your life is falling apart because you're doing too much of something you think you love, find out what you really love. And it will be something that makes you feel as good as an opium high, but you get to keep your family, your home, your money, and your teeth. So good luck with that. Mary James Sketch says, do you need to be in pain to read the book? Can't think of anything that's bothering me, but love your work. Well, I wouldn't mind reading it if I were basically okay. If only to look at other people and go, well, she's out of integrity. No, that's the opposite of integrity. That's judgment, and it's in the book. Judgment, passing judgment, not an integrity thing. It can really help you understand things like the political climate we're living in, the strange politics, the way people act online. It can help you understand why other people have so much suffering, and it will help you feel more compassion and empathy and understanding for them. So if you're not in pain and you really don't care about other people, skip it. But if you're in pain and or you care about someone, maybe read it. Okay, Ruffalo Sarah says, can you talk about the synchronicities that happen when you're living in integrity? Oh my God, you guys. Okay, so it's based on the Divine Comedy. The last part of the Divine Comedy is the Paradiso, where Dante is in integrity and his life turns completely to magic, right? And he says, you're not even going to believe this, but it's true. I believe it was literally true. Not only have I seen magic and miracles in the lives of many people who come to integrity, but when I take the challenge and really go there, the magic is unbelievable. Like everything I could want comes to me. It's crazy. There's a line in the book that says, peace is your home, integrity is the path to it, and everything you've ever longed for will meet you there. So let me tell you one little synchronicity. Many years ago, I'm friends with Maria Shriver, and we were sitting around thinking, we were kind of at low points in our lives, and we were thinking, what are we going to do with our lives? Let's envision something. And Maria just kept repeating this poem by Rumi that says, out beyond judgments of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. She said, I just want to be in that. I just see an open field. And her horse was like really dear to her heart. As a kid, she had a horse that she just loved. And so she said, I just had this image of a field with a horse. And I was like, that's beautiful. It's called The Open Field. So then I go get this book. I sold it on proposal. I wrote it. It was in publication. And Penguin Books, I didn't know they were doing a deal with Maria Shriver, and she now has her own imprint. And the second book that she's publishing under that imprint is this book. And look at the spine. It says The Open Field, and there's a horse running in that field. And I keep looking back at that day when we were both like, oh, what are we going to do with our lives? We never, ever anticipated this. I sold the book to a different person. But these fractals, these beautiful patterns start to form around us when we're in integrity, because reality is working with us now. We're in reality, and reality is so magical, so complex, so benevolent. It's worth doing anything to find it out, you guys. It's so magical. So Dr. Donna says, what's a great first step to forge the path to the way of integrity? The first thing to do is to admit the things we don't want to admit. So I have a little list at the end of the first chapter. And it's just, if you say these things out loud and you feel calmer, then it's your first step to integrity. So for example, my life is not perfect. Okay. I could really use some help. Sometimes I'm really sad. Sometimes I'm really angry. Sometimes I'm really confused. And it's okay. It's okay. So if you say that and you own it, it means you're finding the suffering that is coming from the lack of integrity, and you're going inward. And that first truth, this isn't perfect, or this is really awful. It may be that you're involved with something really awful. And just calling it what it is your first step to integrity. And then again, be very kind to yourself. Do a lot of loving kindness meditation. Bring your whole integrity to the compassionate steps that come next when you admit a difficult truth. And you're on your way. Danielle says, how long did it take you to write this book? About 5 years in the writing and 30 in the research. It really is kind of the culmination of all my self-help explorations. And put it all in there and braiding together the Divine Comedy, my own biographical examples, the examples of clients, the exposition of the principles and the exercises that are in. I had to braid all those strands together. So it took a long time. It was a really interesting writing project. I hope it works. I hope it works for you. All right, so Bruce says, I have a very painful and limiting chronic illness. In your view, are illnesses caused by going in the wrong direction in the past? In a word, no, absolutely not. Everybody gets sick, everybody dies. Well, not everybody gets sick, but everybody dies. And a lot of us suffer accidents and wounds and illnesses there is no, this is your punishment for having done something bad in the past. You haven't been living your life right. Your thoughts aren't positive enough. No, feel that. That doesn't feel like integrity. What does feel like integrity to me when I've had chronic illness is there is something in this for me that is positive, and I am going to find it. And I was pretty much bedridden for 12 years and in constant pain, and it's a grueling road. And it's what made me say I was not going to tell a lie for a whole year, and it's what set me free. But being cruel to yourself, saying you should have done it better or it's a punishment, no, you'll just get sicker if you believe that, because it's a lie. The truth is, this is happening. This is not meaningless. There is something in this for me that is positive, and I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna go inward and inward and inward till I find it. And just remember, when Dante's going through hell, he goes down to the center of the earth, and then his guide makes him keep going. So he's downer than down. He goes through the center of the earth, and suddenly down becomes up, and he's headed toward the stars. And that happened to me with a lot of my own illness. I pray for it to happen to you. But if it doesn't, I still believe there is something for us all in every bit of suffering that we've ever had in our lives. So love to you, Bruce. Aruna says, Martha, how did you start reading Dante? Like, what made you keep going back to it? I don't know. My very first self-help book, I started with the quote from Dante, Finding Your Own North Star. And I was like, I haven't even read the whole Divine Comedy. Why am I starting with this? And I don't remember deciding to use it for this book. It was just happening all of a sudden. Like I was on a 5-year integrity cleanse, and I think I'd read it once, like in college, and it just kept coming back. And these metaphorical images that I'd forgotten kept popping up, and I'm like, oh my God, I think he was writing about this. So then I started looking, and I was like, wow, no wonder people like this book. And yeah, he's a genius. I think he was enlightened. He spent 13 years crafting a metaphorical pathway back to our wholeness, and it is amazing. So yeah, good book. But you know, it doesn't make as much sense now, so maybe just read the parts of it in here. Okay, we just have a couple more. Carmina Sweatshirt, I love that name. Hi Martha, what if we know we're deeply out of alignment at a job or career and can't afford to leave at the moment, or don't know how to find another job right away? This is something I call the Montecristo approach. The Count of Montecristo was stuck in a dungeon, and he kept himself sane by digging a tunnel through solid rock with a spoon for 14 years. So his soul wanted to be free, and he served his integrity by digging that tunnel. If you do the inner work to get back to your integrity, you watch the outside world. Once you start to live your truth, you will be able to manage it so that you're digging this tunnel. You don't have to tell anyone. Just go to work and have a little project on the side where you're like doing photography or whatever it is you love. And then as you come into integrity, the power to go forward in that will get greater. And there will come a time when you can just jump. You can jump. And I knew to jump from my job before I had another job. And I thought, oh, I'll get another job right away because I felt compelled by my integrity. Nope, I didn't get a job for another 18 months. And I was living on credit card debt with little kids. And don't do that. But when I finally figured out that I wanted to be a writer, everything opened up again. I'd never thought that. But I did think it. And my whole heart went into it, and I had so much pain in my hands I couldn't move them, and suddenly I could move my hands again. So stay in your job that you hate as long as you can. When it's time to leave, you'll know, your integrity will tell you. And in the meantime, always be digging a little tunnel to other things to keep yourself from going crazy. Okay, final question from Melanie. When and how can I know if what I feel is really my truth or something I have learned? Okay, so if you wake up from a dream, and it's a really vivid dream, you may for a moment feel kind of confused, like, where am I? After a few minutes, even if it's a very vivid dream, you're like, no, this is real. This is reality. it tests out the, everything's working reliably and the dream feels less real. When somebody tells you a lie, it feels poisonous in your soul. And when somebody tells you a deep truth, that settled, relaxed feeling, it comes in. So even though it's something you're learning, you've got what I call the inner teacher, your sense of integrity that is telling you, believe this sentence that Martha Beck just said, but don't believe that sentence. That one wasn't true for you. So you can learn and learn and learn, and all the time check with your inner teacher, is this the truth? Is this the truth? And if it is the truth, it will set you free. So I have just been handed a note. Says, please share your responses on social media. # The Way of Integrity, all one word. Oh, and it's not too late to get a ticket to my conversation with Liz Gilbert, which happens today later. We're going to talk about the book and launch it. I read it to her as I wrote it. We called each other on the phone, and she would draw pictures and I would read the chapters, and we're going to talk about it. And if you go to my website and buy a ticket, I think they're still going to get books, right? You get a book to go with the ticket to the event.
Or they can buy it without already ordered it.
You can buy it without buying the book for cheaper if you've already ordered the book. So thank you for being with me so long. It's been almost 45 minutes and I've enjoyed every moment. So I'm still in my integrity. I could probably hang out with you guys for hours, but I know you've got lives to live. Got a little thing that says live, which means these people have lives. Let them go. I just want to thank you for joining me and for all your help and support through the everything. I love you. See you on the path to your own truth, and show up tonight. We'll have some fun. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thanks. Finish.